It's 19th of July 25 and I'm looking at the council by-election results in the UK on 2 days ago on July 17th, 25, and I'm really looking at what how Reform done, really. List how Reform did in a table, not lost. I'm using Google Gemini Flash 2.5, and this is a table. I think there was 9 by-elections that I'm aware of. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yep. And the table doesn't fit, but it goes further than that. Let's see. But they've done very well. Yeah, so that's really good. I think, anyway. Um, they gained 4 out of 9 seats. They lost a seat. Um, but I think there's some local circumstances to do with that. The guy just won the seat and then he resigned 2 weeks later or something like that. I don't know why. But also, I think in these sort of seats, where was that? I think the left are starting to support whoever's got the best chance of beating Reform. So Eccles Hall, Stafford, I think that's in Staffordshire. I think Staffordshire's a pretty good area for the Tories now. I mean Reform. A Conservative gain, so maybe some Labour people voted Tory. I don't know actually. Um, but really they done really well. One, two, three, four. All of them, well, 3 of them from the Tories, 1 from Labour. There was a Green Party hold. I don't understand that at all. Where was that? Um, Sefton Park, Liverpool. I mean, what's going on there? There must be a story behind that. Is it to do with a Middle East war where some are treating it like football teams? You know, uh, I can't elaborate really on YouTube. Really, yeah. And there's a Lib Dem gain from the Greens. So here's that Prestatyn. That's in Wales, I think, or is that Seaford? Yes, Seaford. I don't know where that is. I'm having trouble with this table, as you can see. Um, yeah, but there you go. 4 good results. Let's see where Reform came from. 1 from Labour. Let's look at that one. Oh, I've lost it now. Let's see if I can stay on the same page. St Martin's, Basildon. Well, that's no surprise. I think that's Essex near London. That's no surprise, really. Um, and Reform get 44% there, and they're new, so that's 44% straight out. And they gained it from Labour, so that's really good to see there. I'll just take a look here at the sort of gains they got. They get 45% gain in Dartford. I think that's Essex as well. 53% in Dartford as well. Maple and Leighton Gross. They get 34% in Wales, Prestatyn. So that's pretty good. And that's from straight off new. See, I think it's one thing. It's very important for a new party to be able to list councillors and council by-elections, just so that you can get an idea of how the country's going to vote, so that the people have got the option of voting for them. I mean, I'm no fan of Reform. I don't identify with them. I'm using them as a protest vote, basically, on one issue, because the left and etc. say you can't vote them on this issue. It means you're terrible. But I think we've no choice really. So really, I don't think we're going to be a utopia the way we're going. It's okay to say we're going to be a utopia. You won't get locked up or anything like that, even though you're predicting the future, and it might be quite different. But I don't know. Are people going to get locked up in hindsight for predicting very wrong? Probably not. Um, so really, I'm just looking at Sefton as well. I just can't get why are they voting Greens there? And it's a hold as well. So they've given up on Labour right there. Um, let's see what else we got. So we've got these sort of results. So that's all their results. They've done well everywhere really, because they've got 23% there somewhere. Let's see what Pontypridd in Wales. They get 24% in Wales again, I think that is, Baglan, and 24% in Eccleshall, even though they lost a seat there. They're down from 35%. Here's the sort of changes: minus 10% in that strange place, plus 3 in, no, 0.3 in Wales. Don't know what's going on there. I mean, Wales is going to go reform big time in the Welsh Senate next year, and their proportional representation there, which means that they won't wipe the board really. Um, I think they're going to do well in Scotland as well in the Holyrood elections next year. They're about 17% in the Scottish polls at the moment, but I think they'll probably get even more than that by then. Maybe 25%. I don't know, maybe even more. But there you can see the change, big changes. That's Essex, I think, mostly. Uh, yeah, and we just had that thing in Epping recently. There was a problem in Epping over the last week. It looked very much like last August. Um, and there was people bussed in with yellow and pink placards. They were bussed in by the police, actually, it turned it. Um, yeah, we don't know about these people. What's their background? Are they the same people that turn up all the time at these things? We know they're bussed in, but probably not local or not very local. You know, are they all council workers or in trade union, or are they all Socialist Worker Party members? Last year, Keir Starmer said that the people protesting were far people, and he's not said that this time about Epping, but he also said last year that anyone who, well, I don't know, I can't remember what he exactly said, anyone who had inflamed the situation can expect the law to be thingy, but does he include himself in that at the moment? He doesn't seem to, because to me it appears that he told, I mean, I did see people last year, one guy with a false gun saying some sort of far group who haven't had a meeting since 2014, and people might query whether they've actually promoted any badness or whatever, but they hadn't, and Keir said that they were behind what happened, although the police had an investigation recently and said that they weren't. Nobody, there was no far people involved with the rioting last year. So will Keir be seen as being one of the instigators of inflammatory? Because he's mentioned that group in his speech, and that guy had a false gun and he mentioned that group. Was he influenced by what Keir said, Yeah, that sort of thing. So we've got to look on this. Reform UK had a particularly strong showing in Basildon and Dartford, securing 3 gains from both Labour and the Tories. They also picked up a seat in Prestatyn Town Council. While they didn't win in every contest, their vote share in several wards demonstrates a notable presence in these local by-elections. Yeah, so I mean really, no matter what you think of reform, just use them as a protest vote at the moment if you're bothered about this issue. I see it's the number one issue in YouGov polls now. They always ask, what 3 issues are you bothered about? Personally, I think everyone should do YouGov polling, and they should also just pick that one issue for those 3 issues. Don't do any others, because it'll just, Labour and Tories are looking for any reasons not to talk about that issue. I mean, they didn't talk about it at Prime Minister's Questions this week either, Kenny or Keir, because neither of them are going to come out. They realise that neither of them will come out well in that secret operation they were doing that's costing 825 million. It's meant to be estimated, and then the operation as a whole, including the official type, is meant to be about 7 billion. Yeah, so that's all I've really got to say about that. And just looking around, yeah, Labour seem to be dropping everywhere. I'll ask Thingy, in fact. This is how Labour done in the 9 by-elections last week. They were actually up one there. What is that? But mostly they're down. We'll check the changes first. Down 4%, up 0.5%, down 13.5%, down 12.5%, down 18.7%, down 11.2%, down 11.6%. And there was 3 that it looks like they didn't stand anyone, and I wonder if that was because they felt they were splitting the left vote, because in all of them, Lib Dem gain, Lib Dem hold, and Independent gain. And I think in these 3 probably rather Reform. No, I don't think that's right. I don't know where these places are. Shipton Mallet. I don't think Shipton Mallet was in there. Nah. I don't know what I'm looking at here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, ignore the last 3, I think. But I don't think Labour. Oh, they managed to hold 1. Talbot in Wales, I think. They've still not got a message, I guess. Everywhere else, Tory gain, Plaid Cymru gain, Reform gain, Reform gain, Reform gain, Green Party hold, Reform gain, Lib Dem gain, other independent gain. So, no, those 3 don't count, the last 3. So, Labour really done badly everywhere. Yeah, they still get quite high votes there in Essex, like 35% in Basildon. So there's still a lot of. Well, I think they've got a traditional vote that's probably still holding on. Old traditional, I'm talking about blue collar families, and also maybe new people. I don't know, so that Reform lose or whatever. Although I think a lot of them will go for Greens now as well, and independents as time goes by. Yeah, so that's all I've got to say. Maybe I'll ask one more question of Gemini. Yeah, just looking, I mean, there's nothing really. It's all obvious in a moment, really, isn't it? For Reform, significant momentum and breakthroughs. These by-election results clearly show Reform continuing its strong performance seen in the May 25 local elections. They secured several gains, particularly from the Tories and Labour, indicating a growing ability to convert their support into actual seats at the local level. See, for somebody like Advance UK, who I think is better on this issue than Reform, a lot better, and of course we've got Restore UK, who are doing great stuff. I think if you can get people to stand in the by-elections, whether it's council by-elections or MP by-elections, but you don't want to split the vote if Reform could win it, so there is that difficulty because we've got first past the post. But Advance are actually, I mean, I don't believe in the party system. I don't believe in party hampers. I believe in direct democracy like Switzerland, where you get referendums all the time and you vote on issues. But on this one issue, I think Advance are the best of the mainstream parties, really. So what's this all about? Leveraging discontent. Reform UK's success appears to be largely driven by voter discontent. The Researchers indicate they are benefiting from dissatisfaction with the Labour government and continued high levels. This anti-establishment sentiment is a key driver for their support. And breaking the duopoly locally, experts are noting that Reform UK is shattering the traditional Tory-Labour duopoly in some areas. Their ability to win outright and even gain control of councils, as seen in the broader May 25 local elections where they gained 10 councils, demonstrates a significant shift in local political power dynamics. And it's because of the first past the post system. Intriguingly, Reform UK appears to be benefiting from the first past the post system, which traditionally favours larger, more established parties. Their ability to win with a smaller overall vote share in some instances suggests they are effectively concentrating their vote in certain areas, allowing them to breach the barrier that often hinders smaller parties. Yeah, I mean, I don't believe in the first past the post system. It's the worst of the lot. I know that Rupert Lowe wants to keep it, probably because he sees it as a sort of democratic dictatorship, really, and you only need a small amount, 33%. Labour get 34% in the 2024 general election, and they get 66% of the MPs. So I think that's how Robert's viewing it. But I believe in proportional representation, even if it means a hung government, because everyone's vote's got to count, you know. And like I say, I believe in direct democracy anyway. I believe in voting on issues rather than party hampers. So a challenge to general election conversion. While their local success is undeniable, translating this into parliamentary seats in a general election remains a significant challenge. Well, not really, because some of the polls have got them winning 380 seats, which is way over the 325 you need. So, also I think they'll do very well with young people, because they know more than anyone how the country's changing. So I think a big chunk of them are going to, already in a poll this week, 20% of 16 to 17 year olds said they would vote Reform. I mean, I think a year ago that would have been about 2% because it would have been socially unacceptable. So if they're getting 20% already, I think they could get 30 or 40 among 16 to 17 year olds. And Keir's just said he's going to give them the vote as well for the first past the post system. Probably thinking that it would do Labour good, you know. I mean, there's nothing radical about that. I mean, if you want to be radical about the electoral system, you would go to direct democracy or at least proportional representation. So there's nothing radical in what he's doing. He's trying to do it to shore up the Labour vote, I think, really. And what his results tell us about the Labour Party, governing party blues. I think it's more than that. The by-election results for Labour show a pattern of declining vote share in most contested wards, with some significant negative swings. This is a common phenomenon, but I don't think it is this time. I think it's more than that. I think it's this one issue, and also how bad Keir Starmer is, really, at being a leader. I mean, he's upset everyone. He's upset his own side. He's upset the non-workers who probably vote Labour, whether that's pensioners or people on welfare. He's upset everyone. He's done U-turns on his beliefs. He's done U-turns on what he said he was going to do when he was elected leader. He's done U-turns in what it turned out he actually believed in, which was big cuts to welfare, etc. And he's not pleased anybody. He's done a U-turn on his big speech a month ago, which I think the speech writers must feel like, well, what did you tell us to make a speech like that for, if you're disowning it a month later? Erosion of 2024 gains. Well, they only had 34% of the vote, so they didn't really have a strong. I mean, 2019 Tories won 44%. He got less voters than Jeremy Corbyn in 2019, so he didn't really have. He's not really got the country behind him in the first place. He's got the old electoral system behind him. It's really, we've got a rotten electoral system. Well, Labour won a landslide in July 24. It's suggesting an erosion of some of those gains. Reform UK in particular has been able to capitalise on areas where Labour made inroads against the Tories in 2024. I'll never understand why the non-wall went back to Labour. I just can't understand it at all. Apart from Lee Anderson's seat, the whole lot of them went back to Labour. It just doesn't make sense. Apparently when the Tories do badly, their vote doesn't turn out. It's not that Labour really win, it's their vote doesn't turn out mostly. But they should have turned out and voted Reform, I think. Voter complacency and turnout concerns. Well, I don't think Labour are bothered as long as they get a big thingy. So, nothing really to comment about that. Anti-Conservative vote versus pro-Labour mandate. Analysis of the 2024 general election suggests that Labour's landslide was, to a significant degree, an anti-Conservative vote rather than a strong pro-Labour mandate. The by-election results, with declining Labour percents and gains for other parties, reinforce the idea that Labour needs to actively work to solidify its support base. I don't think they've any chance at all. I think they're finished. So are the Tories, actually. Navigating a fragmented landscape. Yeah, the last election was it was one of the lowest turnouts ever at 59%, but also it was the lowest vote share for the top two, I think. I think they were down at around about 63% or something between the two of them. Navigating a fragmented landscape. Labour as a governing party now faces a more fragmented political landscape. The rise of Reform UK, coupled with continued strong performances from Lib Dems and Greens in certain areas. Yeah, we might have a Jeremy Corbyn party coming up if he ever gets his act together, which you can't be sure of, actually. I mean, he is the worst motivating leader of all time. I don't know why anyone... You'd be better off with a scarecrow, really, rather than him. At least the scarecrow can put their foot in it, you know. Means that winning and holding seats will become more complex. Labour will need to devise strategies. I don't have any chance anyway. Overall implications. Paint a picture of a volatile and increasingly multi-party political system in the UK. The two-party system is under significant strain. The combined vote share for Labour and Tory appears to be at a historic low, with smaller parties, especially Reform, making significant inroads. But Labour have no plans to change the first-past-the-post system, from what I've saw, so there's nothing radical about Keir, what he's planning for the electoral system. Importance of by-elections. Well, by-elections are not direct predictors of general election outcomes. They act as an important barometer of public mood and can indicate shifting political trends. Reform UK's gains, particularly their ability to win seats, suggest they are becoming a more credible electoral force than previous third parties at the local level. Policy and delivery crucial for Labour. Yeah, that's just blah blah blah. I think they've no chance. Reform UK's growth trajectory. Reform UK is clearly on an upward trajectory. While a general election is a different beast, their local successes provide a platform to build local bases and potentially increase their national profile, especially if discontent with the government persists. In essence, these by-election results are a stark reminder that even a significant general election victory, the political landscape is fluid and the parties must continuously adapt to evolving voter sentiment and the rise of new challengers. And finally, we'll have a look at next week's by-elections, or at least the ones that Google Gemini's telling me. Sometimes it often gets this wrong. This is 2.5 Flash I'm using, Gemini. Scheduled for Wednesday. Well, it's a Thursday they have. There are some on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, which I would prefer. I mean, like I say, I don't think you should have an election on a working day. It should be on a Saturday or Sunday. Except if it was e-voting, then workers can vote via e-voting. Keir Starmer never said anything about e-voting for his radical changes, which aren't very radical. Yeah, so it's saying there's a election in Bonhomley. It says Wednesday, but I think it's Thursday. So that'll be interesting because that might go to Reform, I think. And defending independent, likely a former Tory councillor, now sitting as an independent. So the previous control was Tory, and that might go to Reform, I think. Cardiff, well, you can't tell with them, you know. You can't tell with the people, because it looks like they're going to win a lot of seats in the Senate next year, but in councils, a lot of Labour seem to be hanging on. It's Labour defending. Now we've got England Decorum Council. I don't know where that is. And it's a Lib Dem. Probably a Lib Dem will keep it. For some reason, Lib Dem areas still seem to be Lib Dem. I don't know why. Dorset. This is a Tory area and it's defending. Hertsmere. That's a Tory area. These could all go to reform, possibly. Lichfield in England. Tory. It's independent defending, so that could go to reform, I think. Rutland, England. Lib Dem Green. It's a Green defending. Well, you can't tell, really. I've just asked how they think reform will do. Bromley, this is traditionally a Tory area. If Reform UK contest strongly, they could take votes from Tories and potentially even win, especially if the independent, who I think is a former Tory candidate, splits the non-reform vote. Swanage and Dorset, another Tory-held ward. Reform will likely aim to make inroads here. Borehamwood, Brookmeadow, Hertsmere, also a Tory-held ward, providing another opportunity for Reform to challenge the incumbent. Lichfield, currently held by an independent, but with a Tory previous control, this could be a very open contest and Reform might see an opportunity. Cardiff Council, while a Labour hold, if Reform UK stands, it will be interesting to see if they can chip away at Labour's vote share, reflecting the national polling trend of Reform eroding Labour's gains. Yeah, well, if it's an inner city, then they've got a chance, I would imagine. So, we'll see how it goes. Okay, that's all for now. Bye bye.